very much for coming and joining us. And it's March 1st.
Haven't seen you since last month.
I know.
That's right.
I know.
11 days to daylight savings.
Yeah.
From Saturday, counting down.
We can't wait. Can't wait.
We gotta go this weekend before we...
I know. We're just not going to talk about that. When we were still renting space at the church, and remember Ginny Ryder was our meal site coordinator for so long, and I'd say, "Oh, Ginny, it's going to snow," and she'd, "Shh, we don't say four-letter words in church." She was good. She was good. So, but we just won't think about it. But this morning, we're very glad to be able to have our school resource officer in Georgetown, police officer Henry Olshefsky with us, and as our guest speaker. And Henry, connects with as a school resource officer. Certainly, that's much of the work. But he also is connected with us. And we've talked. I can remember literally having to talk with Henry regarding scams, and he did do some trainings for us, which has been very, very helpful. And and you've been responsive when we've had an emergency as well. So there's a lot that's involved in this position, and I thought you'd really enjoy a chance to get to talk with them. And I appreciate you taking the time.
Anytime.
It's wonderful, because I know it's not easy. Next month, I put our selectmen right on the spot, but because we're coming up to town meeting and the election, and I thought, well, it's a good opportunity. I did invite your friends to join us too, just for them to be able to talk about what's coming up on the warrant and what's ahead right now with some of the work in town. They very graciously actually, Doug responded for Gary. He said, "We'll do it, we're glad to." And then the following month in May, Dr. Dan Tallman, who's been with us before, he'll be back. And I was like, geez, we haven't had Dr. Dan in for a while. And immediately he responded and said that he'll be here. So that's always good. He's very informative and an easy guy to talk with. So, well, if anybody has any topics in terms of health that you'd like Dan to talk about, let me know, and I will send. He was, looking for some suggestions that way, so I can certainly get some suggestions to him. I mean, he's talked before about what to expect when we go to the hospital in terms of immunizations. He's talked about rehab work. He's talked about staying well during the flu season, which isn't easy. Sleep. He talked, sleep hygiene, sleeping well. So if anything comes to mind, give me a call, and he'll welcome that. But right now, I'm going to turn it right to Henry. And if anybody needs anything, let me know. We're going to be cleaning up in the kitchen, but we still have some coffee.
Thank you.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Henry Olshefsky. I'm 46 years old. I live in...
Baby.
You're like 22.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I live up in Plastow, New Hampshire. I have a 5-year-old daughter. So I got into policing about 10 years ago. I started working in West Newbury, a little town right around the corner here, as a reserve police officer. And I was there for about 8 years. And then I joined the Georgetown Police Force as a reserve officer about 4 years ago. And then I was fortunate enough a couple years ago to be placed full-time here in Georgetown as a school resource officer. So I've been in policing for about 12 years, and prior to that, I worked for 20 years as a paramedic on an ambulance.
Right.
So for really my whole adult life, I've been in public safety. It's not anything I really grew up wanting to do. I just kind of fell into it. When I was 19 years old, I graduated high school, and we didn't go to college in my family, so we just started working. We were right out there and we got to work. So I was working at the Christmas tree shop, and a good friend of mine said, "Hey, I heard that there's a class at NECO in Haverhill where you can learn how to drive an ambulance." And I was like, "Oh wow, that sounds pretty cool, exciting," 19-year-old kid. So I signed up with him to go to the class. Of course, a week before the class started, he broke his leg. So I ended up going alone, and that's how I got into it. I became an EMT, I loved the work, I started working in Haverhill. And then I went on to become an intermediate and learn how to do IVs and a couple things. And then I said, this is great, what else can I do? So I went to paramedic school, got my paramedic license, and then I went to Lynn to start working as a paramedic. Crazy. I was there 2 years. I worked Friday 24 and Sunday 24. And it was just some of the strangest things you've ever seen. So I decided, well, this is just a little too much. I went to Lawrence, which, thinking back now, wasn't that much better. And then I went to Haverhill, and then I ended up what I like to call the country club in Newburyport. So I spent my last 10 years on the ambulance in Newburyport, working as a paramedic, and it was just a wonderful city to be in. Down by the water, and just a lot of fun people and fun things going on over there. But yes, sir.
What's your ambulance company?
American Medical Response.
Oh, okay, AMR.
Yeah, and that was what it was at the end. When it started, it was Frontline, Careline, MedTrans. We kind of just had the Velcro patches, and as we got bought out, we changed them over. But yeah, it was a wonderful career. I loved working on the ambulance, loved the people that I met, and all the crazy situations I got involved in. And as I was working on the ambulance, I started to meet a lot of police officers, and I really was impressed with what they did and their job, and just how the uniform was clean and how they were just out in the community helping people. And so that's what got me interested. I started asking the police officers, well, what do I need to do to get a job to work as a police officer? So I started kind of going through that process and taking the civil service exams, and and that led me to West Newbury, because I worked with a guy on the ambulance who worked in West Newbury as a police officer. So he said, hey, we got one opening, we got like 20 candidates, you gotta come in and take a written exam, then you gotta do a physical, you gotta run, you gotta do sit-ups and push-ups, and if you make it, you could possibly work there. So I was lucky enough to make it there and then come here. And now being in the schools, working with all the kids, you guys know we have 3 schools in town, so we have K through 12. I do a lot of stuff. We teach at the Pembroke, I do community initiatives, I teach the 5th and 6th graders. So I was just there yesterday, we did a lesson on friendship. And we do different things about kindness, and last year we did some things on symbols. So we have all these different lesson plans that the Pembroke administration comes up with, and then we meet ahead of time, and we go and we teach the 5th and 6th graders. I'm also responsible for all the ALICE training. I've done the Council on Aging, all 3 schools, the staff and the students. I recently did the PB Library, and now I've just been in contact with all the churches in town. We're setting something up for the end of June, early July-ish. To get all the churches ALICE trained as well. So in the event something happens, and if you're not familiar with ALICE, it's the school shooter training, active shooter training, that came out. It's out federally, not everyone has put it into place yet, but we here, I think, are very fortunate that we're kind of ahead of the curve. So instead of just sheltering in place and hiding under a desk, waiting for something bad to happen to you, ALICE gives you options, and it stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. That's what the ALICE stands for. And we teach the kids and the staff how to break a window, how to get out of a building, and you don't just sit there and wait anymore. So, and we've also given all the schools and the Council on Aging, we've advised them to get wasp spray, because it shoots 25 feet, and if you get it in somebody's eyes, it makes them so they can't see very well, and you can't see what you're shooting at. It's helpful. So we got rubber door stoppers for all the doors that open in. We put rubber door stoppers in, it won't allow the door to open. We've also talked about the door closers. You can take a belt around it. That's right. The door won't open. These are all things that you have available to you that before we just shut the lights off and sat in a corner. We don't do that anymore. If there was a fire in the building, you wouldn't wait for the fire department. You leave. Same idea. Somebody doing bad things where you are, go somewhere else. So it's a whole new train of thought. It's a whole new training. I went and did the active shooter training, so I'm an instructor. They've also sent me up to Epping, New Hampshire, to the Sig Sauer Academy. I spent a whole week up there at that facility doing live shooter training, chasing the instructors around. So I'm an instructor now in the active shooter training as well. So we have a lot of stuff. We're very fortunate here. We do a lot of training with shooting, with drills. We actually have an 18-wheeler that comes every year, and every officer is mandated to go into this 18-wheeler, and it has a ballistic gel screen at the end. And we do live shooting with our gun with real bullets. They put the lights out. We use our flashlights. They have blue lights and sirens that go behind us to distract us and try to make it real. And you interact with the screen. So you see a cruiser pull up, it's you, and then you see a door open and you see from the perspective of the officer, and you have to engage in live incidents. And when it goes bad, you draw your weapon and you shoot, and the target won't collapse until you hit it with a bullet. So it's very interactive. The technology is amazing. It's as real life as we can get. And I've never seen that anywhere. Even in the police academy, we didn't have it that nice of technology. So it's exciting. But I'm not only in the schools, I do a lot of community events. Anytime we have anything usually going on, I try to get out there. So we do like the Trick or Trunk, which is something we did a couple of years now at the Pembroke for the kids. And then we got the Health and Wellness Fair coming up in April that we're going to be doing. we're putting on a mock car accident for the high school kids right before they graduate. So I got 2 cars from Trombley's Towing. They're going to donate wrecked cars. We're doing head-on collision. I got the funeral home. Conti's going to bring the hearse, and we're going to take one of the kids away in a body bag. And we got the fire department coming. They're going to have an ambulance there. We're going to have some kids injured. So try to make it, you know. And we're going to focus on texting and driving. It's always been drinking and driving, and I know that. But now I just think out of, let's say, 200 kids, you only got maybe 10 of them that are drinking, and 2 of them that are drinking and driving. It's a small number. Out of those 200 kids, 200 of them are texting and driving. I'll tell you that right now. You guys all know. You see it at the red light, you stop, and everyone's going by driving like this, you know? So I just think it's more relevant in this day and age, and it's more important. It'll have a bigger impact on them, hopefully. So we're doing that. And anything that, you know, comes up, like I had a parent-teacher meeting this morning, so we had a student at the Pembroke that had the ALICE training, and her daughter was in 4th grade, and she was just a little scared by it, so she wanted a one-on-one meeting with me and her mom, and to go over specific questions. So I do all that, and then I'm at the high school every day for the lunches, to meet and see every single child that's in that building, and then I also come here to the Pearly, and I go out on the playground with the little ones, just so they know, like, it's not bad when they see a police officer. I'm just like a teacher. I'm part of the fabric of the school. So it's been a lot of fun for me. I mean, I absolutely love it. It's a great town. A lot of good people that I work with at the department. And I'm really happy that we have a school resource officer, because not every town does. I mean, they're getting them now. That's for sure. When I left West Newbury, they didn't have one. And the chief just put one on, and he sent him over to me to see what my program does here, to model his program after our program. So we had the new school resource officer in Newburyport came over when we did an active ALICE drill at the high school last year, and she just wanted to see, because they don't even have ALICE over there yet. They're not even doing school shooter stuff yet. So we are definitely ahead of the curve with that, and now with it being so prominent in the news, it's definitely something that I'm happy that we've gotten into already. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or anything you guys want to talk about or anything that you'd like to know.
What are your thoughts on this marijuana business in the schools?
Marijuana is tough. So they've legalized it, well, they've decriminalized it, but it's still illegal federally, but it's a fine, and now we have a place here, and I heard there's another place possibly going in on Carlton Drive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard. You got people that are going to be smoking and driving. That's just like drinking and driving, but we have no breathalyzer for it. So I feel like we're behind the 8 ball with that, because we don't really have an avenue to figure out what's going on. It's very tough right now. They need to figure it out and give us some direction on how they want us to handle it.
What's the difference between medical marijuana and recreational marijuana?
You have a card, there's no difference. No difference in the plant itself. Just you have a card allowing you to buy it, I
Is
believe.
formulated the same?
I'm not a chemist, I couldn't say, but I mean, I think
I
it's...
don't think any of it's any good.
Well, yeah, I guess the plant just closed down recently too, the one here in town. Yeah, they had for an ease of terms, a bad batch. Something got into it, was a pesticide or something. Yeah, some sort of pesticide or something got sprayed on the plants, so they had to. So yeah, so I guess even they have problems.
You can only smoke so much, you know, then it's not helpful.
Not me, I'm not allowed at all.
Well, one, I know it. You better not.
It was funny because the chief put out a memo when it became, decriminalized. He said, by the way, to all the employees, just so you know, you're still not allowed. And I thought that was a good memo to put out because somebody might,
Federal, all right?
yeah.
And would truck drivers and that, I imagine, would be the same?
I would imagine because
Yeah.
that CDL license is like, they're held to such a higher standard. Like even with the alcohol and stuff,
They
it's-
lose them quick.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal. So yeah, I would agree, it's probably the same with them. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, yes.
The thing to note about Healthy Farms
Yeah.
is there hasn't, as far as I know, there hasn't been one police complaint or action that police had to take on.
No, we're never there.
I was told there's like 109, 119 cameras now.
Is there really? Yeah, well, they gotta, they gotta protect their stuff. So yeah, no, we've never been down there. I've never been called there, and I work every single day. So I don't think that's an issue. Yes, sir.
What percent of doctors and nurses go work every day high?
No idea.
50%?
I don't know.
So if you pull somebody over,
Yep.
there's no way to test them, right?
Well, we do field sobriety testing, just like we would for alcohol, just to measure their, you know, the way they walk, their gait, whether they're unsteady on their feet.
Is the fine the same for DWI as it is for smoking?
It's arrestable if you're driving. Yeah. And then we let the court figure out what they're going to do with it. So what we do have is something called a DRE, a drug recognition expert. So we don't have one here in Georgetown, but we have one in Rowley. So if we have an instance, because there's a lot of stuff with pills now, as you all know, we have an instance where we make a motor vehicle stop and we suspect that the operator may be under the influence of something. We don't know what. It could be marijuana, it could be pills, it could be anything. If it's to the point where this person's going to get arrested, we usually call the DRE in Rowley and have him come down. And then he has this exorbitant amount of specialty training where he can go through all these other tests right there roadside and determine whether or not they are intoxicated by a substance other than alcohol. So we're getting there. We're learning. We're kind of, you know, figuring it out as we go, because it's now there's so much stuff out there that we just don't know. People are mixing stuff, and you know, you get it from one person, it's got this in it, and this person gets it, and it's got that in it. You don't even they don't even know what they're taking, or what they're snorting, or what they're.
Do you find at the high school that kids are smoking?
We haven't had much of it at the high school. I mean, not that I've been made aware of it. I'm there every day, so I think we got a pretty good group of kids up there. They don't really get in a lot of trouble. We don't have a lot of police action. You know, I'm up there hanging out, and I talk with the kids, and we'll do some stuff together. I actually help them with some of their projects. Last year we had the art class. They were doing like a video, so they asked me if I would be involved. They were making a drinking and driving video, and so we had a couple of cars set up, and I got in my police car, and we had a guy with me in my police car videotaping me following the car, and we had the car like weave a little bit, so I put the blue lights on, and it was an excellent video, and they sent it to me afterwards, so it shows them all at home like drinking and partying with fake beer, and then they throw the keys to the driver, and the keys hit the guy right in the head, and he's so drunk that and he still picks them up, and he can't even get the key in the door, and you know, and then it cuts to the car weaving and me pulling him over, and I had to put handcuffs on him and arrest him, but it was a great project, and I really enjoyed working with the kids doing that. Yeah, so we have a pretty good system here for. They feel, I think, pretty comfortable with the police and having me in the school and just as part of like the teachers, you know. But we haven't had any issues with marijuana at all.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Probably gonna be a long question, but
Speak up.
with the recent things that have happened in schools, and it's unfortunate because so much of these shooter things are terrorists, but it seems like in the schools, it's kids shooting kids.
Yes.
And I know they said that there's some failures there, but yet with the rights that everybody has today, you can't just bring people in and lock them up. So are you doing or expecting anything new to come along and training on that end of it? You know, you can, one thing to do, like you said, the ALICE training, but
Yeah.
what about just checking, being able to be ahead of it?
Right. So we have to touch on a lot of things there. So police officers in schools, me in the high school, I'm not allowed to search a student. It's a violation of their civil rights. The principal and assistant principal are allowed to search them at any time for any reason, anywhere in that school. They are the sheriff of that little town. So what they will do if they have an incident, I'll be there in the next room, because I'm not even allowed to be present. And the teacher will rifle through their bags, their pockets, their lockers, whatever they want. So they have that ability. So it's hard because we had a case come down from the Supreme Court last year, 2017, where there was a school resource officer, a female, a sergeant. She had been working for like 18 years. She'd been in the schools for a long time. She knew all the students. Student comes in, appeared to be a student, backpack, younger kid, teenager, comes in, gets buzzed in, said he was here to see somebody. So they weren't sure who he was or what he was doing. So they called the principal, they called the school resource officer, and they were like, you know, well, you go to school here? And he's like, oh no, 19-year-old kid, he had graduated from there previously. what are you doing? What's your business here? He said, oh, I'm coming to see my girlfriend. She's 16. I brought her sneakers or whatever. I'm like, okay, but he was acting kind of funny. They smelled a little marijuana. It was just a little off. So he kept on reaching to his backpack, and it made the school resource officer nervous just from her training and experience. So he ended up taking it off. He goes, look, I'll show you the sneakers. And he went to like unzip it, and she grabbed it from him. She goes, don't put your hands in there. And she goes, something's not right. And just her intuition, the hair on the back of her neck stood up. So she went, opened the bag. There was a loaded .357 Magnum in it. So she arrested him. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court. They threw it out. She violated his civil rights, and she was not allowed to search that backpack. And so it's a tough thing. So now people are starting to talk about, well, let's do metal detectors in schools. So I think that's probably a good idea. I look at it this way. I work at the Topsfield Fair every year. All of us in these little towns, we help Topsfield. And at the Topsfield Fair, you got to get in line. You got to empty your pockets. You got to empty your backpack. You got to go through a metal wand detector. And I don't know if you guys know, but at every entrance is a little metal box plugged in. That's the FBI, DEA. It's a bomb sniffing box, and it sniffs like over 1 million particles of any materials used to make explosive bombs, detonating anything. And you pass by that, and it sniffs you, and you don't even know it. And if anything goes off, you'll know it, because we had one go off 2 years ago. There was a guy that worked in construction, and he was a blaster. He was using blasting materials. And the thing went off, and all of a sudden, a bunch of people come and took him away. And I went and talked to him afterwards. I go, what happened? They go, oh, he was fine. He was a blaster. He works for construction. But it's pretty impressive. So if all those things happen so you can go look at a goat, I mean, we got to do something. Because if we can do it and set it up and break it down every year at the Topsfield Fair, we can probably implement something permanently to keep our kids safe in schools. The issue is, it comes down to, you're going to lose some of your civil rights. You're going to lose your search and seizure right. You're going to be searched. You're going to go through a metal detector. It goes off. Somebody's going to go through your backpack. So how far can we go with it? That's the global question. What are people going to get comfortable with?
If there was a metal detector in a scenario with a female officer,
Yes.
that would have, 357 would have been spotted.
Yeah, it would have gone off, yeah.
So
But then what do you do?
For that.
But so then, if you have the metal detector, you can't search them unless it's the principal. The officer can't be present. So we got to kind of, I guess it's going to be legislation and laws, things that got to change everything. Yes, sir.
Well, I worked on a crisis team for 30 years, trying to prevent evil. But anyway, you err on the safe side. And that cop, the sergeant,
Yep.
she did the correct thing.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's what you need to do. You know, we in the crisis team, you walk into a place and so forth, and you have a sense about things.
Yes.
And she did. You do.
Yes.
Yes, and that's what we need in school. Now, in terms of the civil rights, well, I have an opinion about that. If you're outside the law, you're unlawful, then you're subject to it. Now, how do you find out? You have to cross the boundary first. Okay, but you got to be safe.
Right.
Okay, so that's just a comment, and I'm not really arguing for that. It's just that I understand that dynamic.
Right. Well, we have something. One second, I'll be right with you. We have something we teach in Alice. It says the best thing you can do in a situation is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is the wrong thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing.
Right.
So even if it's not the right thing, just do something.
Yeah.
What was your question?
What happened to the officer?
Nothing. She didn't face any. It wasn't what it is. She didn't get any, action from the department against her. It was just he was just found not guilty. Which at the end of the day,
His attorney.
I'm happy with that. Who cares? The gun got taken off the street. No kids were shot. Period. So as long as you clean up the mess right there, let the court figure it out later. We don't care what the courts decide. We just care what we keep the kids safe, at that time. So she did the right thing. Absolutely. Yes.
What do you think about changing the schools being gun-free zones? Even if there isn't a teacher in there with a firearm, the thought that there might be somebody to shoot back at you, do you think that would help the situation?
I don't know. That's a tough thing.
That seems to be a very good target. Oh, there's nobody in there that's going to harm me.
Yeah.
I'll be able to do what I want.
Yeah. Well, they're also talking about armed security at schools. you know, hiring a company and having an armed guard. So it's just progressive. So in Haverhill, like the Woody Votech, that's where I went, they have a little guard shack. That's a deterrent. You have to stop. They have to identify who you are. All right, so I know.
Businesses.
Yeah. Then if you go to the Haverhill High School, they have a little area, they buzz you in, and you're kind of stuck in this little area. You go to this window, and you have to hand them your license.
Yeah.
And they put it in a machine, and it runs a background check on you right then. And if you're clean, it spits out a name tag. If you're not clean, it doesn't, and then they have to discuss what to do with you. So there's just levels of, so you could have a guard shack, you could have a little vestibule with a machine, and then you could also have an armed guard that would escort you where you needed to go once you got your name tag.
Why don't they use the national guard on the schools?
I don't know.
They got the weapons, they've been through it.
Yeah. I know that they get deployed for a lot of different stuff, especially like what's going to happen tomorrow. There's
Yeah.
probably going to be National Guard
Yeah.
down there with the flooding and the evacuation. I heard they're evacuating people.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Don't blame the children.
I agree.
It's not the children's fault.
I agree with you.
It's the adults' fault.
I agree.
How many adults here end up when they meet one of their children or their grandchildren, we give them a hug and kiss them on the cheek and tell them they love them?
Absolutely.
That's what they're supposed to do.
I agree with you. I do it with my 5-year-old daughter every morning when I drop her off at school. We always say, I love you back and forth. That's just our routine. So it's very important. And now they're talking about the kids doing a march. Walk out of schools, they're trying to set a date to support what happened in Florida with the shooting. They're doing a 17-minute march because it was 17 minutes of chaos when that whole thing happened. So that's just another thing that we have to be mindful of, and it may affect us here in town as well. So
That's the 14th of this month.
yes, March 14th at 10 a.m. And then also, I know there's some talks already here in town about changing the entrance to the high school and making it safer. So
Making
safer,
it.
yeah. So
Well,
that's
I used to have to get buzzed in when I would go there.
you still do.
Yeah.
But now they want to go another level and try to make it even more safe. So they're talking about construction and building some walls and things
Yeah,
to.
well, yeah, and having a lock. I mean, that's my
Yes.
imagination.
Everything's locked at the high school. So
Right.
that's why this little key, this is the master key to the schools. So I carry this. I have to use this to get in, and then every door is locked while they're teaching. That's the program. Every door is shut and locked all day. So you can't just walk in, you have to be buzzed in, and you have to find out where you're going, and then you can't even get into a classroom without getting through a lock. So it's good.
In your opinion, what do you think schools should do? You have children yourself.
Yep.
It's not cheap, but who cares? You got kids,
Find the money.
there you go.
Yeah.
So what would you,
I mean, you're gonna have to layer it, like we talked about. Guard shack,
metal detector?
metal detectors, make sure that you have this little safe space when you come in that you're kind of locked into and you can't really go anywhere. Yeah, how long is it gonna take to do that? It's gonna take time. We have a lot of schools, we have a lot of kids. But there's already schools down south that have already done it. They've already done bulletproof glass, they've done it because they've had umpteen shootings.
Issues.
Yeah, and there's ones that are thwarted every day by the FBI, and they find these and they catch these kids before they're going to do it. So, I mean, when I went to school, you guys went to school, we didn't have this problem. It didn't exist.
We could even carry a jackknife.
You could Swiss
Yeah.
Army knife.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you probably used it in some of your classes.
Yeah, it was a tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Once you had your totem chip and stuff.
Well, now you can't take a bottle of water on a plane.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, is that what the schools are going to become? Like an airport?
It's hard to know.
It is hard to know.
It's a process that needs to go forward.
Right. I like the fact that everyone's talking about it. I like the fact that people come up with all these different ideas because out of this, necessity is the mother of invention. So we're gonna figure it out. I mean,
And not one thing is the absolute correct panacea. It's going to be all kinds of aspects coming together.
yes,
Constellation of this protection and function.
absolutely. And I think different areas and different regions will do things a little bit differently. But it'll be a
It's
generalized.
only my opinion, but I think only ex-military police officers that have the training and backed by law enforcement should have weapons at school. I'm against teachers doing it, because I could think of several scenarios that could go wrong. Where
Absolutely.
are you gonna keep the guns?
Mhm.
Yeah, if they're not trained regularly, you get 3 students here and somebody behind them, are they gonna have that cool demeanor
Right.
to shoot? And if students know where a gun is kept,
Yep.
there's another scenario, so that's only my opinion.
It's a highly debatable topic.
Like he said,
Oh, you
earlier
bet.
about the can of wasp spray.
Yeah,
Hit one from
I
my
never
wife
heard of
today
that
for
one,
church.
that makes sense.
it's great
That's
because
almost better than mace.
it is. It shoots farther.
Yes.
You get the foam stream, and it'll stick to them. Even if you get them in the chest or the chin or anything, it burns the skin and it emits this like, you know.
One last question.
Yes.
What about tasers or?
Yes.
What's the distance on that? Wouldn't that be an alternative for a teacher to have?
So,
That's
yes.
as far as I go.
We carry a 25-foot cartridge. I have 2. I have one on the front of my taser and one here as a back. So they do come in 18 feet, 15 feet, 10 feet. We carry a 25-foot cartridge. It's 50,000 volts. It's electricity. It's non-deadly. So alternative, absolutely.
That's as far as
Unless you
I
have
go.
a pacemaker.
Yes, it can affect pacemakers.
Yeah.
But the taser is a wonderful tool. It really is.
I think that as far as I would go, with having something like that in school, the teacher to have access.
Yep. We're
Best
good.
thing is not to be shot.
That's right.
Yeah. Wear your armor.
We have to.
You're not wearing armor,
Of
right?
course I am. Oh, it's so much lighter and breathable now.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep. We absolutely have to. Anytime we're on duty, we're required to wear it.
When I was in the ERs right up until a few years ago, especially like the papers,
Yep.
bulky.
Yeah. Used to be very uncomfortable.
Oh my God.
It's so bad now that the Lawrence paramedics are wearing bulletproof vests on the ambulance.
They should.
Yeah. Yeah.
The old ones, when I was in the military, were not as comfortable or as light as what they have now.
Oh yeah, they're beautiful now.
When I got mine back, when they first come out, it was called Second Chance.
Ah,
It weighed 12 pounds. 12 freaking pounds.
Yeah.
Couldn't even move.
It's like wearing a weight vest all day.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on bumping the age to buy a gun to 21?
I'm okay with that because I remember when I was 18, I did some silly things. I think your brain's still developing. I think what science has told us and shown us is that your brain is developing until about 26. So you do make some rash decisions. You have all these crazy chemicals and hormones kind of racing through your body. I'm okay with that.
Me too.
We used to, I think at 12, you could start taking the safety course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I did it when I was 16.
Yeah. Times have changed.
Yeah,
I mean, I used to play outside by myself until the streetlights came on, and
as a country, we've got, you know, what you're talking about is like a Band-Aid or a pill.
right.
The real problem, it's a problem we gotta address as a country.
Agreed.
so where'd you grow up?
I was born in Chelsea,
Yeah.
and I grew up in Haverhill. I went through the Haverhill school system.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep, graduated from the Woody Evo Tech. I
You knew
graduated.
Frank
Oh, yeah.
Jones.
Yeah, I think I do.
Sure, yeah. Well, he and I were buddies together in the Army.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I went to I graduated with a degree, with an auto body certificate from the high school, and I started doing auto body for about 2 years. And I had a lot of respiratory problems. I couldn't breathe half the time, and so I was like, all right, let's do something else. So I ended up changing careers. But you can make good money at it, but it's a lot of work. It really is. All right, well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. It was nice
Thanks so
meeting
much.
you.
Thanks so much, everybody. Now we can see you, too.
Yes.
Said, thank you, Charlie. Thank you, everybody. So, and thank you guys for being willing to speak next month. And anybody,
You know what's funny?